How did Emperor Constantine impact Christianity? The first life of Constantine describes his subjects as resplendent with every virtue that godliness bestows. This praise-filled biography came from Eulabus, which was perhaps Constantine's biggest supporter. Historians now debate if Constantine was even a Christian at all. Some think of him as an unprincipled power seeker. Many argue it was just a blend of paganism and Christianity for purely political purposes. Constantine's legacy is extremely complicated, but was dramatic and transformative in often contradictory ways. He helped create a syncretic society that fused Roman culture with Christianity. His financial policies towards the church strengthened its charitable work, but brought about many non-Christians into positions of leadership. He also helped stomp out the heretical branches of the church. Point 1. He helped to create a syncretic society that fused Roman culture with Christianity. How did the church willingly accommodate this weird megalomaniac, which was Constantine, in the theocratic system? Did the emperor surrender to Christianity, or did Christianity give itself to the empire? While Constantine supposedly converted to Christianity in 312, but wasn't baptized until 25 years later. This was because he wanted to get all of his dirty work done first, so that if he were to do anything bad, like, say, kill somebody, he would be able to be baptized and that wouldn't count towards his record. Constantine's connections to the Sol Invictus cult may have led him to endorse Sunday as a day of dedication to honoring the sun, a weekly day of rest for the Roman Empire. This decision officially established Sunday as the Sabbath, rather than a day of commemorating Christ's resurrection. A quote from Constantine in AD 321 says, quote, "On the ventral day of the sun, let the magistrates and the people residing in the cities rest, and all workshops be closed." End quote. Point 2. His financial policies towards the church strengthened its charitable work, but brought many non-Christians into positions of leadership. Constantine believed that the church and the state should be as close as possible. From 312 to 320, he was tolerant in paganism, keeping the false gods on coins and keeping his high priest title in order to maintain popularity with his subjects. Many possibly not even understanding Christianity. However, from 320 to 330, he began to reposition himself as the head of the church, at which point he began to see Christianity as the official Roman cult. Constantine made the church tax-exempt, allowing for rapid expansion. However, many of the things that helped Christianity spread subtracted from its personal significance and promoted corruption and hypocrisy. Many of the people were attracted to the church because of the money and the favored positions available to them from Constantine rather than piety. The growth of the church and its newfound public respect prompted the building of specialized places of worship, where leaders were separated from the common people. Churches also began in the patron's home, but as Constantine grafted the church into state, churches began to take on aspects of official buildings. There were also positive sides to the church's tax-exempt status. A quote by Everett Turgeson says, quote, "For the most part, the church was dependent on patrons who owned larger houses, providing a place for meeting," end quote. This was before they started making the big buildings for all of the people. Point 3. He helped to stomp out the heretical branches of the church. In his quest to solidify control of the Roman Empire, he pushed for the centralization of theological decision-making, and in doing this, he hoped to remove many of the heretical movements from positions of authority. A quote by Sazeman says, quote, "Emperor Constantine, however, enacted the law that the houses of prayer should be abolished, and that they should meet in the churches." End quote. By means of this law, almost all of the houses just disappeared out of nowhere. The Donatist controversy resulted from the conflict over how the pastors and bishops responded to persecution, and how the church should treat the traitors. Somewhere around 304 to 307, a dispute arose around North Africa over a prehistoric group which refused to accept the new bishop because the bishop ordained was a traitor. The man who stepped in front was Donatus. In 317, Constantine issued an edict against Donatist followers: the death penalty for anyone who disturbs the peace. A decade later, Donatist churches were confiscated. Donatists refused and started a violent protest in March 317. Constantine sent armed forces and took the churches by storm. So, although the first life of Constantine describes its subjects as resplendent with every virtue that godliness bestows, this praise-filled biography from Eusebius, Constantine's greatest supporter. Historians now debate if Constantine was even a Christian at all. Some think of him as an unprincipled power seeker. Many argue that it was just a blend of paganism and Christianity for purely political purposes. Constantine's legacy is extremely complicated, and it was dramatic and transformative in often contradictory ways. He helped create a syncretic society that fused Roman culture with Christianity. He started financial policies towards the church, which strengthened its charitable work, but brought about many non-Christians into positions of leadership, and he helped stomp out the heretical branches of the church. Thank you.